So I just wanted to take a super quick look at Vera. It's a 2003, I would call it more of a fantasy film than a sci-fi, but it's definitely a Mexican film, Spanish language, directed by Francisco Attie. And if I'm remembering correctly, this was his third film, and up until right now, the only film out of his catalog that I had actually seen was Fibra Aptica. It was more of a murder mystery type story. Um, but this one definitely does veer off left, and it's completely different from that last film. And I had also run across the comparison with this film that uh, he was the spiritual son of Jodorowsky, and I completely disagree because the symbology and the approach is very different. But if you're going with like the bizarro or the psychedelic nature of it, that is also very off the mark. I think it was just, someone grasping at straws with this one, because even though the film could have been really great, to me it was just a little too slow, it was a little too dull, and it was just basically gizmo caca. But we basically have this story of an older man. He is dying, and he has gone off into the caves, I guess, to meet his maker. And along the way, he runs across a strange little character who kind of originally starts off looking more like a stereotypical alien type creature, and eventually takes on more of a female form, a bald green female. And even though the film's synopsis describes her as an android, I'm just going to call her an alien because she seems to fit that stereotype more than anything else. But throughout the course of the film, she basically helps him, I guess, come to term with his life, or, settle any unsorted business aside so that he can cross over peacefully and, make it into the afterlife without any complications. But it's definitely a very symbolic film. It's very high on the artistic imagery. There's little to no dialogue, and the very few spoken scenes are in Spanish. The version I saw was not subtitled or translated, and honestly, with this type of film, even if you don't know what they're saying, it pretty much doesn't matter because everything's so symbolic, and it's told through body language and, flashback imagery. You can still get the story and you can follow along. So it basically really doesn't matter what they're saying. And that's definitely a very I guess you could say universal aspect of this film, is that you really don't have to know what's going on. You can follow emotionally, or in relation to the symbology, you can follow the story. But it to me, it was just a very slow, draggy story. The symbology itself, in my opinion, I guess either just flew over my head, or it was just a little too flat. Maybe I just didn't care for the CGI. Definitely if you're looking for something a little bit bizarro to watch, then it'll definitely fit the bill. But or if you're just kind of very into the whole artsy fartsy stuff, you might actually really take something from it. It's just, in my opinion, the imagery just really didn't do it for me. It just really fell flat, and it wasn't something I could relate to. Even though I was able to follow along with the story, I found myself a lot of the time, and I believe this is just like an hour and 24-minute long movie, but it felt so much longer, and I was just dying for it to be over. But I wanted to like this film, and I thought it could have been interesting, especially because you have the image of the green woman playing more as a I guess she's more of a spirit guide or a spiritual teacher. And I did like that last ending imagery where the man has finally resolved everything. He's ready to cross over, and they both kind of climb into a little a boat, and she seems to take on the characteristics of Charon on the river Styx. She's guided him this far, and now she's taking him across the waters into the afterlife. So I think that's a very lovely wrap-up right there, and just the the Charon imagery is just something that everyone is just so familiar with. You pretty much know it for what it is when it happens. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't one of those movies where, oh man, I'm so bummed out, I really wanted to like this one, because I was just more curious about the whole symbology and the spiritual journey, which is why I chose to watch this. But it was just very bleh. You know, very, very boring, in my opinion. And from my sleuthing around, there really wasn't too much information out there on the film. It also doesn't look like too many people have paid it any mind, which is actually kind of sad, because you can see that a lot of thought went into this film. It just felt very blah. But I think just the, I guess you could say, the feminine energy in general, the whole nurturing and guiding aspect, I guess that's why the sentient being appeared as a female, even though she's differentiated as not, you know, an earthly female, because she's green and she's bald. You know, you can definitely tell she's different, and she has a purpose, and she's there to play an actual role in this man's crossing over. But yeah, this movie just didn't do it for me. It was just boring. But that is pretty much all I have for you guys on Vera, and I will talk to you later.